Futurama is coming back, baby! So before the Planet Express crew fly back onto our screens, get caught up on the life of its outcast crew. So after doing the lives of Fry, Bender and Leela, I thought, why not Zoidberg?
Zoidberg, quit turning us on and go polish your nozzle!
So, if you want to find out how Zoidberg met Farnsworth, became a doctor with Planet Express, and later met the love of his life, then stick around to the end of this video. Hi, I'm Lydia from Screen Portal, and this is the complete timeline of Dr. Zoidberg. Zoidberg's life before the year 3000. The giant red lobster-like John A. Zoidberg was born on a planet far, far away, Decapod 10. And we know that Zoidberg was at least 80 years old by the beginning of the series. As a child, he experienced a lot of metamorphoses, and we even see him being a literal part of his family in the episode Teenage Mutant Leela Hurdles. During these metamorphoses, we see his form has changed a lot. They've got a pretty insane biology. While at high school, Zoidberg fell in love with classmate Edna, but she never saw him as a potential mate. Even later on in life, when he became a doctor, she still wasn't interested.
I heard you went off and became a rich doctor.
I've performed a few mercy killings.
By saying that, being a doctor wasn't the first career he dreamt of. Instead, it was comedy.
On Earth, you enjoy eating a tasty clam. On my planet, clams enjoy eating a tasty you.
He was discouraged from choosing this path, and so becoming a doctor was a natural shift. It may seem very suspicious that even though Zoidberg had a doctorate in medicine, he hardly knew anything about humans.
Now open your mouth and let's have a look at that brain. No, not that mouth.
So it came as no surprise that in the episode The Da Vinci Code, that Zoidberg did receive a doctorate, but it was in the arts.
My doctorate is in art history.
So basically, he doesn't know diddly squat about humans. He later on also claimed that his real medical diploma was lost in a volcano.
I lost it in a volcano.
Now, we don't know what Zoidberg got up to on Earth when he first got here, but in 2927, we know he started working at Mum Corp, the friendly evil corporation that made jellies, jams, and weaponry. He made his grand entrance into his new job in a very stylish duffel bag.
It's not a duffel bag, it's my apartment.
Zoidberg was introduced as the company's new budget doctor who can hack anyone to pieces. He was basically brought on to collect and dissect a Yeti. Together, Farnsworth and Zoidberg travel to Titan, where the professor catches hypermalaria, an extremely deadly disease that either kills you in 24 hours or lies dormant for decades before erupting into madness and a horrible death. Already doomed, their professor decides to hunt the Yeti himself, but Zoidberg goes to help him anyway, and ends up almost getting eaten by the Yeti himself. The professor saves his new friend, and the grateful lobster promises anything in return. Farnsworth asks Zoidberg to stay by his side as his doctor, and to kill him whenever he showed signs of hypermalaria in the future.
All right, Hubert. I swear.
In 2961, Farnsworth founded Planet Express, and one of his first mates was, yeah, you guessed it, Zoidberg. The original crew died while making their very first delivery of a cookie bouquet, and Zoidberg was the only one to survive. The year 3000 to 3001. We first meet the Doctor in the second episode the series has landed, when he thinks Fry is a woman and tries to see his brain through his mouth. Despite Zoidberg being a pretty incompetent doctor, he is a pretty nice guy. Let's not forget that he is the only creature on future Earth that can meet the ridiculous standards of Robot Santa. But everyone else must die, and so Zoidberg takes it upon himself to save his friends. The new year started for Zoidberg with a little bit of love. Years after finishing high school, he meets his old sweetheart when he goes back to Decapod 10 to find a mate. Edna again rejects Zoidberg, but he manages to get her attention thanks to Fry. But Zoidberg's Casanova behavior makes Edna suspicious, and she finds out that Fry was the true Brainiac and so decides to date him instead. Furious, Zoidberg summons Fry to a traditional duel to fight for Edna. The ultimate battle results in Fry losing his arm and Zoidberg missing the mating session. Fortunately, it turned out that all male Decapodians died during mating, so I guess he dodged a bullet.
Aw, I'm sorry, Doc.
At the end of the year 3001, Zoidberg, as well as Fry, Bender, and Leela, join the army.
Whoa, Doc, I ain't dead.
Excuse me, I believe I'm the doctor.
Our guys immediately go to war with planets Veron 1, and Zoidberg serves as a surgeon. He only got this position because an even more incompetent person was in charge of the mission, i.e. Zap Brannigan. Yeah, Zoidberg lost many people there, even those who were still alive, but my god, at least he tried.
Next patient.
Gee, Zoidberg, leave some for the enemy to kill.
Year 3002 and Zoidberg in the past. In 3002, Zoidberg finally decides to make his childhood dreams come true in becoming a comedian. So he contacts his uncle, Harold Zoid, a huge star of the silent holographic film era, and asks about working together. Harold is a very cheeky boy and asks for $1 million to create a comedy movie, and of course Zoidberg doesn't have that kind of cash, but knows Bender, and Bender knows Calculon, a TV star that is thrilled to be in a movie created by the legendary Harold Zoid. But unfortunately, the film The Magnificent Three turns out to be a huge flop, and Harold is a horrible, horrible director, and frankly unbearable. When the premiere comes, it's a fiasco, and Calculon threatens that he has to get an Oscar for this film or he will kill Bender, Zoidberg, and Harold. Bender and Zoidberg take over the award show and want to pronounce Calculon as the winner for Best Actor. But even here, our Zoidberg can't help but be kind, and he gives the Oscar to his uncle. Luckily, Calculon eventually decides not to kill anyone, and everything seems to be okay by the end of the episode.
I respect and admire Harold Zoid too much to beat him to death with his own Oscar.
In September, Zoidberg and the Planet Express crew got into one of the most interesting ordeals of the entire series. They traveled to Roswell, New Mexico. Oh yeah, and it was in 1947. We learn that the famous spaceship was actually the remains of Bender's body, and that the alien that was found was in fact Zoidberg.
So what are you guys doing tonight? I'm up for whatever.
Scientist and President Harry S. Truman started the interrogation of Zoidberg, thinking that he was a fierce intergalactic invader.
Are you coming on to me?
Hot crackers, I take exception to that.
I'm not hearing a no.
The scientist did a vivisection on him, but it didn't bother Zoidberg at all.
Heart.
Take, I've got 4 of them.
Thankfully, Zoidberg's friends did come along eventually to rescue him, kicking the president's butt.
The president is gagging on my gas bladder. What an honor.
They did lose Bender's head in the process and had to return to it 1,055 years later, but he seemed fine.
I was enjoying it until you guys showed up.
The year 3003 to 3004. Zoidberg had a really quiet year up until the 3003 Freedom Day, where he ate the Earth's flag. This was in a bid to show how free he felt on his new home planet. But this act of freedom was extremely unpopular, and poor Zoidberg was put on trial for abusing his freedom. The result was execution, so naturally he flees to his home planet's embassy to seek protection. His fellow Decapodians protected Zoidberg, but the ordeal had a very unexpected turn when they decided to invade Earth and enslave everybody. At first, Zoidberg was happy to see himself avenged, but after the death of Old Man Waterfall, Zoidberg changes his mind.
Is it possible that all this slavery and oppression is schmutzing up our freedom lesson?
He saves the day and destroys the main weapon, Mobile Oppression Palace, and as a thank you, the humans allow Zoidberg to bite the flag and celebrate in his honor.
Now that's a grand old flag!
The year 3010 and 3013, and finally, Zoidberg finds love. After the rebirth, Zoidberg continues being the worst human doctor ever. Despite his kindness and naivety, Zoidberg is absolutely clueless when it comes to healing humans and usually does more harm than good.
You may feel a slight sawing.
And so a riot ensues, but the professor refuses to fire the dog, blaming the crew instead.
Zoidberg's a fine physician. For aliens, your mistake is being humans.
His loyalty to his crabby friend really lies in that old agreement Professor and Zoidberg made in 2927 on Triton. And it's around this time that the Professor finally decides that it's time for Zoidberg to kill him.
This is very difficult, but I'll try, friend.
Zoidberg tries a couple of methods and all of them are not surprising enough to take his life, but when he finally finds one that may work, the crew are there to stop him. When the professor explains everything to the crew, they decide to let Zoidberg continue to kill him and only go to the doctor's office to find out that he's only gone and sand-crabbed his way out of the room.
Oh no, he's sand-crabbed out!
Zoidberg then goes to Mum, who surprisingly thinks very highly of him, and we learn that had he had stayed at Mum Corp, he would have become rich and successful. In fact, Zoidberg's only possession is a free coupon to a tanning salon, and gives it up immediately to help save the professor and cure him of hypermalaria. But it turns out that the professor doesn't even have hypermalaria.
He has Yetiism.
Luckily, finding this cure was a bit more straightforward, and Zoidberg successfully helps the professor. As a thank you, Farnsworth pays for Zoidberg's tanning session, and the doctor's coupon sacrifice pays off. And his fortunes keep on coming when he finds love with the lovely Marianne, a beautiful human who lacks the sense of smell. This fantastic flower girl was a cure for Zoidberg's broken heart after his internet girlfriend Zindy broke up with him after only one date.
I can't see you anymore. Something's come up. It's vomit.
He tries to return the $3 flowers he brought from Marianne, but she can't afford a refund, so she refuses. He wins her heart by protecting her from Robert Roberto, and she sees his kind and caring nature. And so they date, and since she can't smell anything, she's unbothered by Zoidberg's living situation and his not so nice aroma. When Zoidberg introduces Marianne to the crew, they can't believe his luck.
What's the catch? She looks normal.
But when everybody learns about Marianne's defect, the professor tells Zoidberg that her condition can be cured. At first he's thrilled, but later on he figures out that if she's cured, she may want to leave his stinky ass. But when Zoidberg sees that she is very upset about her inability to enjoy the smell of fresh flowers, he decides to make Marianne happy.
I can give you a surgery, and when it's done, you'll be able to smell everything.
After the procedure, Zoidberg gives her a fresh bunch of flowers, but she said she hates them and much prefers Zoidberg's stinky smell.
Ah, much better. You smell just like I dreamed you would.
He then understands that Marianne is his true love, and at the end of the episode, we see how the pair drive away together in their bright new future. And that, my friends, is how Dr. John B. Zoidberg gets his happy ending. And so, on that lovely note, I'll see you in the next one.